Hi there, Mr. Harriet here, and welcome to this video which is on the averages from tables, the P2 outcome. The way this video is going to work is I'm going to have a very quick learning check to make sure you're ready for P2. Then we're going to do two examples that should help you with the P2 outcome. Now, to start with, just have a look at this question, please. If you could pause the screen and have a go. Okay, you should have that the mean for this is equal to 3. And then if you have not got that the mean is 3, then what you need to do is go back to Hegarty and have a look at Hegarty task 417, please. Okay, Hegarty task 417 to make sure you're ready for P2. Now, we're going to go through two examples. I'm going to put the first one on the screen for you. Please pause the screen if you want to have a go. If not, then just listen and I'm going to go through it. So, the difference between this question and previous ones we've seen is that 12 students in the class who asked how many times a week they exercise. We want to calculate the value of x, this unknown we're given. Okay. Now, in this table, we've got this unknown. And so every time in a topic which isn't obviously algebraic, if we're given some algebra, we're given an unknown, we need to think about how we can use the information we're given to form an equation to solve it. Okay, that's going to be our first thought. And in this case, that will always require us to collect the information in the question and think about what we can equate to it using the algebra. To make that really clear, we're going to revisit the question and look for some more information to use. Now, at the very beginning of this, it says that 12 students in a class. Okay, 12 students in a class. And so straight away I know that there's going to be something I can equate to 12 which will give us an equation I can solve in x. Okay. Now, if we're told that there are 12 students in a class that have been asked, that means I know that the total number of responses I have should be 12. That means that my total frequency should be 12. Okay, the total frequency should be 12. Now, I then need to find some expression for my total frequency, and we've seen this before. This is something that we know how to do. The total frequency is the sum of everything in this column. Okay, and so I then can write this as 3 plus x plus 1 plus x minus 2 plus 4 will all equal 12. And I know it equals 12 because the total frequency is equal to 12, and this is an expression for the total frequency. Now it is a collect like terms and solve an equation problem. This bit should be nice and simple. Okay, I'm going to start with my x's. I've got 1x, 2x, and so 2x. My numbers, or my integers, I've got 3, plus 1 is 4, take away 2 is 2, plus 4 gives me plus 6. And I know again that this will equal 12. And now it's a simple two-step equation to solve. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and I'm going to be left with 2x is equal to 6. I'm then going to divide both sides by 2. Remember inverse operations. And I'm left with x is equal to 3. And that is the answer for that question. Nice and simple. We form an equation, we solve that equation. That's always what we're going to be looking to do when we've got algebra in these tables. A slightly more difficult question for us. Okay? Now, again, we've got the number of tackles made in training by players in a football squad were recorded, and again, we've got that the mean number of tackles was 2.8, and that calculate the value of x. Importantly here, we've got a similar problem where we need to find the value of an unknown that is in our table, And again, we're going to have to do this using the information provided in the question. Okay. Now, I'm told that the mean number of tackles was 28. The mean number of tackles was 28. And so I know I'm going to have the mean is equal, sorry, not 28, 2.8. The mean is equal to 2.8. Now, if the mean is equal to 2.8 and I want to find some value for x, I want to start getting an expression for the mean that uses x. The way I can do that is with the same process, the same kind of process we're fluent with, which is from F1. I'm going to use my table and trust the process to develop for myself an expression for the mean. So, our first step, as before, will be to multiply our first column and our second column. 5 people did 1 tackle, so the total for that will be 5. That's 5 times 1. I then have x and 2, so I've got 2 times by x, and I can write that more simply as 2x. I then have 3 times by 3, which gives me 9. I then have 4 times by 3x minus 12, and importantly here, I need brackets because my 3x minus 12 is my total frequency. And here, to multiply out this bracket, I'm going to do 4 times by 3x and get 12x, 4 times by negative 12 and get negative 48. 5 times by 4 is 20. Now, that gives us some way towards getting an expression for our mean. But we also know that our next step needs to be that I want to sum or find the total of this column and this column. Okay? So, here I have 5 plus 3 minus 12 plus 4. 5 plus 3 minus 12 plus 4 gives me 0. X plus 3x gives me 4x. Now, the sum of this side, I'm going to have 5 plus 9 minus 48 plus 20. That gives me minus 14. I also have 2x plus 12x, which gives me 14x. Now, we know that we need some expression for the mean, and we know it equals 2.8. Now, the expression for the mean, or how we found the mean previously, has always been this column divided by this column. And this time it is no different. I'm going to take 14x minus 14. I'm going to divide it by 0 plus 4x, but I can write that more simply and just put 4x, and I know that will equal 2.8. Now at this point, this looks like a relatively complicated expression or a relatively complicated equation. The reason it's looking very complicated to us is because we've got this fraction with some denominator which involves x as well. My first bit of advice will just be, let's remove that denominator. Let's get rid of that, simplify it for ourselves. The way we can do that, because this is dividing by 4x, is we're going to multiply both sides by 4x. And if we want to, we can make sure we've got that line down the middle. If we multiply both sides by 4x, I get 14x minus 14. It's going to be equal to 2.8 multiplied by 4x. This obviously will expand out. I've got 14x minus 14 is going to be equal to, and please do use a calculator for this if you need to, 11.2. And that's 11.2x. Now, I've got x's on both sides, and obviously to solve the equation I want to collect my x's on one side. Now, this number is smaller than the 14, so I kind of want to subtract that over that side. But I also know that this will have to be over here if I do that. I want them either side of the equal sign. So my first step here, and you can do it in either order, but my first step is going to be to add 14, and I will get 14x equals 11.2x plus 14. I'm then going to subtract 11.2x from both sides, and I'm going to get 2.8x is equal to 14, and my last step is just going to be to divide both sides by 2.8. X will equal 5. Simple as that. Have a go at P2. Those are the two things that we're really going to need. Key thing is identify what information you're given in the question. Okay? Are you given the mean? Are you given a total frequency or something that will be the total frequency? Good luck. Any questions, let us know.